Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and on this channel we try to be Johnny on the spot. We try to be on the pulse. When something lands for Blood Bowl, we want to share it, we want to talk about it. It's really exciting. Sometimes what that means is that Games Workshop will release an FAQ, and then we'll get excited about it and talk about the FAQ, and then the FAQ will get FAQ'd, because Games Workshop sometimes FAQ up. And that's exactly what's happened. So, two things to mention. We dropped a video yesterday, and it's gone live on the podcast feed, where we talk in detail about the FAQ. Everything apart from the one bit on inducements is good to go. Now, we recorded the podcast as well, so Trips and BT got together and we had a chat about everything. Again, you're going to have to ignore the inducements bit that we talk about when the podcast comes out on Saturday, or I think it's already gone live today for Patreons and YouTube members. Just ignore the inducements bit, because Games Workshop have come back and re-clarified their change, which is quite interesting. Let's take a dive in, see what's changed again, and see what that means for Blood Bowl League. Okay, so the FAQ that dropped yesterday had this piece here, and this piece here said, inducements, petty cash and treasury, replace both sections with the following. And we've had an update of the same FAQ, so I'll try and update all the links that we've got out, because it says something different now. So we're going to ignore what we looked at yesterday. The spirit is there. The way it was countermanded was a bit confusing. So it dropped, and in the FAQ, an earlier FAQ just literally went against it. And the way the FAQ was worded when it comes to the inducements bit, there was a glaring bit missing at the top of the segment, which they've now addressed here, called the opening paragraph. Basically, they said replace the petty cash and treasury bit, but the opening paragraph kind of countermanded everything it said, which led us to believe one thing, led others to believe another. The great thing here, and this is a complete win, is day one of the FAQ, they've actually gone back and made sure that what they wanted from a rules point of view has been addressed and clarified. So that is good. We now know exactly how it's going to work. So we're going to talk through how inducements are going to work in League. Then we'll talk through the impacts. Now, we do talk about that on the podcast, but some of what we talk about will not be applicable anymore. But it's always fun to hear us get angry about stuff. So, page A38, inducements, opening paragraph, petty cash and treasury. Replace these sections with the following. Ahead of any league fixture, playoff game or friendly, teams may get the opportunity to spend gold pieces from their treasury or petty cash, or both, to purchase inducements. If one team has a lower CTV, including the value of any journeyman players, then it will be given petty cash to spend on inducements. To work out how much petty cash a team will receive, follow the steps below in order. Number 1. The team with the higher team value gets the opportunity to spend gold pieces from their treasury to purchase any inducement. So the team with the higher tier gets first shot, and they can spend money from their pocket, their actual team treasury, to buy an inducement. Now, most of the time, that's going to be end of a league where a dwarf team or whatever has got a load of gold, or, you know, Trixie Skaven, Underworld, Goblins, Snotlings, or now any team that can take Cindy Bywhistle are going to potentially front up 50k to take that star player. Then, step 2. The team with the lower team value then gets an amount of petty cash equal to the difference in team value between the two teams, plus an amount equal to the amount of gold the other team spent from its treasury. So, if you've got a team that's 1200 playing a team that's a million, the 1200 will give 200k in petty cash. If that team at the beginning of this step decides to spend 100k, then their team value would give 200 petty cash plus 100 petty cash for the cash they spent. So the other team would get 300k at that point. Step 3, and it is missing a T at the beginning of the word the, which is difficult. It's not a frequently used word. He team with the lower team value can then spend this petty cash on inducements, though any petty cash not spent is lost. They may not spend gold pieces from their treasury. So that is going to work very differently than we kind of thought it was going to be. And I was quite excited, because having survived a couple of leagues now where the teams could just buy what they wanted, and you maybe got prayers to Nuffle at the end of it, it wasn't up to scratch. Okay, it wasn't giving me the balance I was looking for. This is tough. When we read the rules yesterday and we assumed that the team with the lower team value got last shot at chucking their treasury on, there was a couple of issues with that, sure. That team could save up a load of cash and then just go and do loads of money buying at the end. Again, it could just give back nothing but prayers to Nuffle. I don't know. I don't mind it quite so much when it's the team with the lower team value, except it could get gamey, and I think that's what scumming is referred to online. Now, in this new situation, the team with the higher team value can then just go front up all their cash, all they want, and everything they pay is just going to add to the petty cash pool. So, in essence, the team with the higher team value controls the team value of the match. Now, we looked at the star player access and stuff like that when we talk about this in the podcast. So, there's a kind of weird meta in the league environment that means if you both take the same star, nobody gets the star. So, if you want to make sure your opponent doesn't take Bomber and you've got the higher team value, well, you go and spend 50k from your treasury, buy Bomber. They get an extra 50k petty cash. They can also then take Bomber and counterbalance it out. It's a really strange one. Is there some good bits in this? I mean, as the lower team value, you won't be left getting a bunch of prayers to Nuffle for no reason, which is really good, because in a league, if your opponent spends a bunch of cash and you just get an extra 3 rolls of Nuffle, it's no good. That's not fun. That's not useful at all. This system can be gamed, but quite frankly, that was gaming the system. Like going into a finals or whatever and being able to spend 150k to take Bomber and 2 bribes to give your team an extra advantage. It wasn't the best foot forward. I guess this is fine. There's a couple of things I don't like from it, particularly side bet, which is an inducement from Death Zone. You can only use, I think, your team treasury to buy it, and now that means that the lower team value team can never use a side bet to help generate extra cash, which is a bit disappointing, but again, that's a real edge case. Generally speaking, this is going to keep the amount of inducements that you see in League to a lower level. And I think with the popularity of star players and the ubiquitousness of the cheap Bomber star players, I think overall it's going to be a good thing. I think overall you might see star players a little bit less, and you might see Bombers and stuff like that a little bit less, and you'll see the prayers to Nuffles a little bit less. And generally speaking, I think the less prayer to Nuffles that we see is fine. I think someone in the video we dropped yesterday commented saying this is relegated prayers to Nuffle now to just a kickoff event. And that's fine. Personally, I'd get rid of that and just give double brilliant coaching, but that's on me, and that's a completely separate thing. So they've clarified the inducements. The team with the higher team value can use their treasury. The team value difference and the amount of treasury they spent gets given as petty cash to the other team, and they can spend that amount in inducements. This is an interesting one. It gives priority to the teams with higher team value to kind of control the odds a little bit, and that's going to be really interesting. We see a lot of team value control in leagues where you want to give as little inducements as possible. Well, now actually having more team value is going to make sure that you control that throttle, especially when your team values are quite tightly packed. If you're 1200 and your other opponents are 1210, maybe it's worth picking up that extra lineman to be able to decide whether or not you want to pay that 50 cash to get a keg or Bomber or something. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing this implemented on tour play. The last 2 leagues we've played in, the one I'm in now at the tournament, we're using tour play. So it's a good system. It just kind of applies it for you automatically. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Let me know what you think about this. I'm a big fan of Games Workshop clearing it up and getting rid of the other rule bit that's gone. I'm not a huge fan of times where there's this massive divisiveness between what's meant and what's... I genuinely thought this would go the other way, but I think we did joke about it on the podcast that means it's probably not going to go that way, and lo and behold, by being wrong, I was somehow right. How incredibly British. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up. Let me know what you think of this change. Does it make it clearer? Does it make it less clear? Does it make it better? Does it make it less better? I want to know. Anyway, I'm going to go. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.